could and nearly did win the war for Horus. However, the plan didn't take one key thing into account. Nobody fucks with the Ultramarines in Ultramar and gets away with it. Captain Zadkill and his Abyssal-class ship was destroyed, thanks to the effort of a small force of loyalist World Eaters, Space Wolves, Ultramarines, and even a loyalist Thousand Sun, saving Macragge. Whilst the invasion of Calth was devastating and killed a lot of Ultramarines and even achieved their goal of overloading Calth's sun, which irradiated the surface of Calth, an insanely sick counterattack by Gilliman and Remus Ventanus turned the tide and resulted in the death of most of the word-bearers, with the survivors who went underground getting hunted down and massacred as well. Nearly all 50,000 word-bearers who attacked Calth were killed. Funnily enough, this was actually part of Lorgar's plan. Those 50,000 word-bearers were the ones who were more obsessed with killing Ultramarines than actually serving chaos, so Lorgar was happy to suicide them against the Ultramarines, making it pretty clear that Lorgar was sick of Erebus and Corferon as well. Fair enough, I would be too. So with one failure and one half success, it was important that Lorgar and Angron beat Armatura. Using their 2 Abyssal-class ships as well as their 2 Gloriana classes, they were able to overcome Armatura's insane orbital defense network, and then beginning landing forces on the ground. They heavily outnumbered the Loyalists, however the Ultramarines on the surface were some of the best, and they had a shitload of extremely well-trained and disciplined mortal soldiers, as well as multiple Titans. The fighting was obscene, with a shitload of World Eaters dying as the smaller, more disciplined Ultramarine forces continually baited them into traps and kill zones. At one point, Angron got lured into a trap and an entire building was dumped on him. In his frenzy, he tried to dig himself out, but only managed to dig himself further underground. Fucking idiot. Seeing that his brother was literally gonna dig his own grave, Lorgar came to the surface to try dig Angron out, whilst the World Eater librarians began to psychically communicate with Angron to tell him to stop digging towards the world's core. With Lorgar so fixated on saving Angron, he opened himself up to be shot by a Warhound Titan not once, but twice. He was able to block the first shot with a psychic shield, but the second broke through and burnt him really badly. The Titan then opened up with its Mega Bolters, punching holes in Lorgar and knocking him off his feet. As the Titan went to stomp on Lorgar, Angron finally freed himself and blocked the Titan's foot, holding it up and allowing Lorgar to crawl to safety, before a Titan on the traitor side arrived and took out the Warhound. In terms of wholesome traitor Primarch moments, Angron popping the galaxy's fattest hemorrhoid to save Lorgar is up there. Armatura had fallen, but it was not a clean victory. Thousands of Wordbearers and World Eaters were dead, with both Lorgar and Angron being a flick of a dick away from oblivion as well. However, in return, the Ultramarines' greatest fortified world was broken, leaving Ultramar mostly undefended. Despite this, the Ultramarines were not broken. Most of the survivors of Calth put together a ragtag team of dozens of battered warships, as well as over 100,000 Ultramarines, and went off in pursuit of Lorgar and Angron. At a similar time, whilst many worlds in Ultramar fell without too much drama to the splinter fleets of the Wordbearers and World Eaters, not all of them did. On Astagar, 600 Ultramarines were able to wipe out an entire battle group as well as a demon warlord titan, saving their world and killing thousands of traitor Astartes. On Percepton, an overwhelming force of traitors quickly overwhelmed the loyalist defenders. However, the Ultramarines waged a guerrilla war and were able to bait the traitor army to them as they exterminated their own world, killing themselves but many times more traitor Astartes. However, even with the Ultramarines' ultra girth and surprisingly solid resilience, the Shadow Crusade was succeeding. There were many cracks in real space, and Lorgar could hear the warp song getting louder and louder. He just needed to complete a final ritual to break it open and call forth the Ruin Storm, but he wasn't sure what the ritual would be. All he knew is that he needed to do something dramatic. While he was thinking about it, he decided to take Angron to Nysiria, Angron's homeworld, to try figure out a way to remove the Butcher's nails and save his brother's life. This part is actually pretty tragic and wholesome and equal. Angron had been extremely fatalistic and didn't care about his own life. Lorgar begged Angron to let him help save him after all they had been through. Angron finally relented and agreed to let Lorgar try. Despite how degenerated Angron was, the warp flight to Nysiria was the best he had ever been. He hung out with his men, bantered with them, and was the Primarch they had been begging for years. Khan remarked that Angron had spent more time with his legion in the months leading to Nysiria than he had in the many decades prior. Angron, for the first time since the Emperor had taken him from his brothers and sisters, felt hope. However, just like everything in Angron's life, that hope went to shit. Upon arriving at Nysiria, it was revealed that they had no idea how to remove the nails, and that the legend of Angron was actually really embarrassing. The tale went that Angron fled like a coward on the eve of battle and let his army die. In reality, he was ready to die with them, but the Emperor had kidnapped him. This version of events sent Angron into a rage, where he ordered his legion to kill every single man, woman, and child on Nysiria. Fair enough, people can't talk shit about you if all the people are dead. Halfway through the genocide, Gilliman's fleet had finally caught up with the traitors. On paper, Gilliman looked fucked. He had about 41 or so battered, mismatched, smaller warships against 2 Gloriana-class ships as well as one of the Abyssal-class ships. However, by using a swarm tactic, Gilliman was able to surround each of the megaships and cut them off from each other. The traitors had fuck all escort ships or fighters, as those had been sent off across Ultramar to wreak havoc. Hence, the Wordbearer's Gloriana ship, the Fidelitas Lex, was given a death by 1,000 cuts and fell to the world as a wreck. The Conqueror was then boarded, with the boarding action severely wounding it. The Abyssal class fared better, but was still damaged. Despite a massive effort by Lodtara Sarin, captain of the Conqueror, the Ultramarines finally punched through the traitor fleet and began landing on the world. However, they weren't able to provide orbital support due to the Conqueror and Abyssal class still being active. The ground war was extremely vicious and personal. The Ultramarines were all hardened veterans of Calth, many of them having killed traitor Space Marines personally, whilst the Wordbearer and World Eater forces were veterans of Isfan and Armatura. Two elite armies clashed with endless hate, neither really managing to overwhelm the other. Angron had been lost to the nails entirely. He was screaming in pain as his brain matter leaked out of his nose. Today was the day he would die. His hope of a release from the nails shattered. Lorgar and Gilliman engaged each other in a duel. Gilliman punched Lorgar in the sternum, breaking his rib and puncturing his lungs. Lorgar hit Gilliman in the head with his Crozius, tearing off half his face, but Gilliman didn't seem to give a shit and kept coming. Angron then jumped into the fight, forcing Gilliman to fend off this much deadlier foe. That is when Lorgar realized what his final ritual would be to summon the Ruin Storm. If he channeled the Warp Song, the song created from the death screams of billions of innocents, he could ascend Angron to become a demon prince, saving Angron and creating the Ruin Storm in one go. He began the ritual. However, the World Eater Librarians, as well as a World Eater Dreadnought, tried to kill Lorgar to stop him from defiling their Primarch. Angron ceased his attack